protected, and Minnesota had a law that they were unprotected. So of course the federal law takes precedence. So I thought, okay, this is ridiculous, but whatever, I'll get my federal permit. But after I had her for a few years, we worked with Representative Ray Cox in Northfield, and we actually testified up at the state capitol in front of the House and Senate Environment Committees to get great horned owls protected under Minnesota state law. So Alice got the very first great horned owl permit issued in the state of Minnesota. They gave her special permit number 1. So she gets to keep that permit number, although they normally change permit numbers every time they renew. Okay, lifespan for Alice. In captivity, if things go really well, it could be 30 years if things go really well, potentially even more. But in the wild, roughly half of them die the first year, and then beyond that, about a third of the adults die each year. So the longest they know of for sure in the wild was a band recovery that was almost 28 years old. So they're capable of living a very long time. So this is a commitment you don't take on lightly, because owls do not adapt to change very well. So like when Rusty and Iris moved here, Rusty settled in fairly good, but Iris, trying to get her to settle in has been a nightmare. And even Alice, when she came to live here, I think it was probably a year before I felt like I knew her well. She didn't eat for 3 days after she moved here. So change is very difficult for them. So when you take on a bird like this, it's a long-term commitment. So eventually I had state and federal permits. And now the federal government has said, okay, we've reinterpreted the laws, and since you're a government facility, the Houston Nature Center is owned and operated by the city of Houston, since you're a government facility and you have regular public hours, you don't need a federal permit. So it's very good we got them protected under state law, otherwise some people could get birds without needing any permits at all. So to get a permit, there's a lot of stuff you have to know. You have to have experience caring for one, because when they're in your care, you are 100% responsible for their every need. You need to make sure they get sunlight, you need to make sure they get proper food. Day-old chicks every day are not going to be sufficient because their bones aren't calcified enough. You have to have proper perching surfaces, you have to know what normal poop looks like and what not normal poop looks like. And you have to have basically a basic veterinary understanding, because there's very few vets that know anything about taking care of owls. We were lucky, there was a vet in La Crosse that was a raptor rehabilitator and knew owls, but she moved down to Prairie du Chien. So now basically if Alice needs vet care, that's a 2.5-hour drive up to St. Paul. So I have to know the basic stuff myself. Are you done hooting now? So any questions about Alice? There's a nice delay here. Oh, how much does Alice weigh? It varies. So this time of year she's at her heaviest, and the heaviest she's ever been this time of year is 4 pounds, over 4 pounds. That's really fat, but she's also big. Females are bigger than males, and Alice is a very, very big female. I've never seen another one as big as her. But on her low end, the lowest she's ever been is about 1,500 grams, which is like 3.5 pounds, something like that. Alice is going to be turning 15 in March. Yep, the closest vet for me is in, well, St. Paul, the Twin Cities. No, there's not always somebody here with Alice. So unlike a little kid, we can leave her here during the day by herself, and she's fine. When we go on vacation, that's a tricky thing, because somebody does have to come and feed her. And the other thing, this is her home territory. So if you're an owl in the wild, and Alice she's got all the basic owl instincts. So her instincts say, hey, this is our territory. Nobody else is supposed to be here. So if somebody else comes in the house, she can try and attack them, which she has done. Okay. Any other questions for her? It's normal for her to hoot this much if I'm talking. If I'm on the phone, she's hooting. If somebody else is here, she's hooting. But if it was just Hein in here and we weren't talking to anybody else, then she wouldn't be hooting this much. Bathing varies with the time of the year. So if it's raining out, that stimulates her to want to bathe. So if it rains outside, which of course is more during the summer than this time of year, then she might bathe every couple weeks or so. This time of year, she can go months without taking a bath. She can go most places in the house, but she doesn't. She mostly spends her time either in her room or in the upstairs hallway where we've got all the AstroTurf for her. When she wants extra attention, then she'll come down in the living room to get the attention. And yes, she'd normally be sleeping, but since I'm talking and we're here, then she's awake and hooting. When we're done, she'll go back to sleep. Yeah, you can say she's a sweetie, but only in her own way. If you're hands-off about it, sure. Then she's nice. But if you try and cuddle and snuggle her, no, she's not sweet about that. Do most of you still have sound, or did some of you lose it? Okay, most of you got sound. Ooh, Tracy, maybe you need to reboot or something. Or close the thing and start again. She's watching something outside. Okay, good, Tracy. What do you think, Alice? Are you done now? Alright, so next we'll go see where Rusty and Iris are. Well, I'll show you the food prep next. So we're going downstairs now. Down the stairs. And Alice hops downstairs. She doesn't fly all the way, but she'll take a few steps at a time when she goes down. And this is the kitchen. Hein's having his coffee. And food prep area is right here. So here's the kitchen sink, and this little bit of countertop is dedicated to food prep and composting. That's it. We don't do any of our food stuff here otherwise. So here's the gophers out thawing. So these are kind of medium, smallish gophers. They're pocket gophers. Ooh, let me see if I can show you. If you look really close, you see he's got a root in his cheek pouch. Ooh, Hein's gonna hold this for me. Isn't that a cute picture? So it's a pocket gopher, and they're called that because they have these cheek pouches, and they're external, and they put roots in their cheek pouches. And their teeth are on the outside of their lips, and he's missing his front feet. They have really big claws for digging. They're under the ground almost all the time. But there's a bounty on them around here, so people catch them, and they trap them, and then they cut off the front feet to turn in for the bounty. And they have no use for the rest of the body, so we're really lucky that we've got a trapper, Charlie Myrie, over by Fountain, and he'll catch a few thousand a year, which is more than we need. So we've got everything we need, and then the rest get passed on to other wildlife rehabilitators. So, yes, Alice would take the whole thing to eat it, but what she would do is she would gut it, take out the liver, stomach, intestines, and bladder, and just string them all over the place. So what I do is I cut them open, usually cut them in half, take out the liver, stomach, intestines, and bladder, throw those out, and then Alice gets half of a gopher per day, and then Rusty and Iris get 3 halves. So that's why I have 2 gophers out thawing at any one time. Got some dirt on the computer. Questions?
You need 3 days to answer those questions.
Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands since I was playing with gophers. Checking to see if there's questions. Nope. Did I gross everybody out? Or were they cute since they're not cut up?
We can do something about that.
Okay, I'm gonna put on shoes and a jacket, and then we'll go outside. Oh, how I named Iris and Rusty? I wanted to give them names that meant something. So Iris had been, her eye had been punctured with something, and that's why she's blind in her right eye. So that's why I named her Iris, because that's a part of the eye. And Rusty is named for his really dark rusty coloration. So at least some of you kind of got grossed out. I suppose I could take you down the basement and show you the freezer that's plumb full of dead gophers. $47. Am I back on? Okay. My nice owl scarf. Okay, I'll quick show you the gophers in the basement, just so you can appreciate stuff. Thank you, Hein. Hopefully I won't lose the connection. This is the gopher freezer. So that is all and entirely bags of pocket gophers. And that's a pretty good size freezer. So that's, I think, about 300. So every morning I have to remember to come and take a couple out to thaw. And if I don't, then when I get home from work I have to put them in a bag and thaw them. Because you don't put them in the microwave. If you do that, you wind up cooking parts of them, even if you do it on defrost. So, not nice. Okay. Outside, and it's windy, so I don't